what we do in the game file industry. Really directly applied to your program, any aspect of your program, but I definitely want to just talk about the breeding aspect of your program. And I titled this video as I think it was called Cheap and Being Lazy. Cheap and Being Lazy. And the reason why I titled it Lazy and Being Cheap, I think that's what the title of this video is because something I dealt with the other day, and I see it going on in many cases with individuals in the game file industry. And I wanted to share this, hoping that it can kind of shine some light and maybe it will make you make a different decision, maybe not. But let me tell you what I did the other day, which I can kick myself in the behind for because I know better. And you may think this has nothing to do with game file, but it does. So let me tell you. What's up, Hector? So let me tell you what I did the other day. I had to go to the store. I know I needed two things. I needed to get something from like the store in the mall, which sells like, imported cheap stuff. I need to go get a mosquito zapper, right? That's one thing I needed to get. What's up, Victor? Appreciate your continued support, Victor. I needed to get the mosquito thing, and I also needed to get some dish detergent, right? Now, let me tell you the mistake that I made that is completely correlated to what I see in the game file industry. I go to the little cheap store that sells the import stuff to get the mosquito zapper. While I'm in the store, I find a mosquito zapper. I pick it up. On my way to go in line to get in line, I see some dish detergent. So let me tell you the backstory. Before I left the house, I realized that I was gonna have to go to two different places. I was gonna have to go to the supermarket to get the dish detergent, go to the you can call it like a dollar store type of thing to get the mosquito zapper. Okay, I knew that before I left the house. Had all the plans to go to those two locations. What's up, everybody checking in? We got Jamaica checking in, Southeast Georgia checking in, Dustin, Georgia. What's up, everybody? Texas. We got one of our members from the membership program, Victor Soto checking in. I appreciate it. So I leave and go to the store. I go to the cheap store to get the mosquito zapper first. So I go in and I find a mosquito zapper. I get the mosquito zapper. On my way to the line, I see some dish detergent. Up on the display, they had like different scents, lemon scent, this green scent, whatever, different. Looked like normal dish detergent to me. Nice label on it and everything. Okay. So I said to myself, oh, I can grab the dish detergent to save me a trip from going to the grocery store. Listen to this and tell me if this doesn't apply to what you see some guys do or we all have done in the sport of game foul. So I said, well, if I get the dish detergent from here, then I'm knocking out two birds with one stone. Now I don't have to go to the grocery store and I can go straight home. Also, too, the dish detergent I get is like $5 or $6, like $6 or something like that, right? At the grocery store. Well, this dish detergent was $1.47. So I'm thinking to myself, well, $1.47 is kind of cheap, right? $1.47 is kind of cheap. And because the regular dish detergent is like $5 and something. Over here it is. In the States, it's not. So I say, well, I can't really go wrong. Dish detergent is dish detergent. It looked good. The bottle was nice. The label was nice. It had all the different variety of scents that you can pick from. So I picked up the lemon flavor. Well, not flavor, but lemon scented dish detergent. So I get the detergent, check out, boom, I'm going on home. Get on to the house, right? The mosquito zapper works. I take that little $1.47 dish detergent, big old bottle. I still got it. Big old bottle. I try to use it. So I go to wash some dishes. I only had a few things in there. So I squirt the dish detergent on a rag because I was going to make a whole bunch of water for 3 dishes. So I squirt some of the dish detergent on a rag. Wet it. Go to wipe the plate. No bubbles. Like no soap. I'm like, what the heck? So I grabbed the dish detergent again and squeeze some more. Run it up under the water. And so a little bit of bubbles came. So I'm like, hold on. how much dish detergent I need to make soap to wash one plate, right? So I said, you know what? This is some trash. That's what I said. I said, this is some trash. I knew I should have went to the right store and paid the $6 for the right detergent. That's what's going through my mind now. So I had to wash some stags that I was shipping off to Texas. So I said, well, I always use dish detergent in with the stuff that I wash. When I wash the birds, I always add dish detergent in there. So I got the stuff for the bugs and mites and all that to do the delousing thing and all that. So I got that in there. So I usually make a 5-gallon bucket so I can dip the birds in. I can scrub them up, soap them up real good, pull them out, boom, and sit them in the sun. I only filled up not even a whole 5-gallon bucket. I had to use about half of that bottle of that cheap $1.47 dish detergent, and it still never soaked up. It was literally like a waste, but I couldn't throw the water out because I had already put in the stuff for the mites. And so I couldn't throw the stuff out. I mean, I couldn't pour the water out because I had that stuff, and it was a little bottle of that. That bottle was this small and it was expensive. So I had already poured that in a bucket. But I poured half of that dish detergent in that 5-gallon bucket, and it still didn't create no soap or no bubbles. What's up, Jerry? Appreciate your support, Jerry. I didn't put, I put it in there, didn't soap up the birds. So I pulled them out, then had to do it all over again, right? So I didn't throw the water out because I'm like, I'm going to go get some good dish detergent, put that in there. But the moral of the story is this. The moral of the story is this. Everything that looks good is not good. Everything that looked the same is not the same, right? And you can definitely apply that to game fowl. All round heads aren't the same quality. All sweaters are not the same quality. You know what I mean? All Kelsos are not the same quality. Just like that dish detergent, it wasn't the same quality. It looked like dish detergent. It looked the same as a $6 bottle of dish detergent. The label was nice. The bottle was nice. They had it organized on the shelf, had multiple different scents, all of that. But it takes 3 ounces to make 4 soap bubbles on a plate. And not only that, when I did eat from the plates and cups that I washed with that dish detergent, it left a residue on it. No matter how much I washed them, I can still taste dish detergent. So, like I say, guys, understand this. Everything that looked the same is not the same. And obviously, the ingredients in that $1.47 dish detergent wasn't the same type of ingredient, wasn't the same quality ingredients in that $6 bottle of dish detergent. I should have took my lazy behind, stop seeking convenience. I should have took my behind to the grocery store and picked up the $6 bottle, which I had to do anyway, because I tried to get away with grabbing a $1.47 bottle because it was right there and it was going to save me a trip. Well, at the end, it didn't save me a trip, and it cost me more money because I end up having to go to the grocery store anyway. And I had to end up spending the $6 anyway. So when you out here buying game fowl, I don't care what colors you buying, what family you buying. Stop thinking, if you're looking for somebody with some round heads, go out there and try to buy the best round heads you can get for the budget that you have. All round heads ain't the same. I don't care what nobody say, because it kills me when guys go out here and buy something like, oh, I'm going to buy this and cross it over my round heads. I'm going to buy that and cross it over my Kelsos. Everybody Kelsos ain't the same. Everybody round heads ain't the same. Everybody sweaters ain't the same. So you need to try to understand what type, first of all, who got like some of the best round heads within your budget, because every bird may not be in your budget, right? Every bird may not be in your budget. So you have to understand that whatever you go out there and buy, try to buy the best that you can buy within your budget. I always say, find the best that you can buy. then save the money up to buy it buy it one time and be done with it. Don't do like me with that dish detergent. And many guys might think this is common sense. It's not common sense. A lot of times this is not learned, but through experience. And it takes you years to learn it. You end up wasting money, you end up wasting time, and you end up producing a bunch of substandard birds. And what I mean by substandard, I'm talking about your standard, not Freddie's, not Pablo's, not Rico's. I'm talking about your standards. So you end up producing a lot of substandard birds. And then what you do is you try to laser focus on the few that you produce well. The goal of breeding is not to produce a minority quality. It's to produce the majority quality, meaning that you want to produce more above average birds than below average birds. So don't think because you did this breeding and you got 2 or 3 good ones out of it, you just ignore the fact that you produce 25 trash. You can't do that. I mean, you can do that, but you're doing nothing but wasting your time, you're wasting your money, you're wasting everything. That is you 100% correct. This is right here is what I'm talking about. I just pull this up on the screen. Thaddeus says sometimes the extra $300 or $400 can save you big headaches. That's exactly my point. That's exactly my point. Sometimes it's better to not buy anything until you can save the money to buy exactly what you want. Because if not, a lot of times you end up getting something that's not going to click, but you bought it because it was the money that you had available at that time, or it was convenient, or it was readily available. Everything that looks the same is not the same. He might have been beautiful. She might have been beautiful. Might not good structure on it, all that kind of stuff. But then when you bred it, produce trash because the thing that you were looking for was not there. The exterior was there, but you're buying for the genetics. You know what I mean? If these birds are not able to reduce light, then they're really not giving you what I ain't gonna say giving you what you want, because I don't know what you want. But if you're a serious breeder, that is the whole point of going out here doing this, right? So I say, just like that is, sometimes it's better to wait, save you a few extra $100 and buy the bird that you need. And this way you can buy it one time and be done with it. Or you can be a little cheaper and buy the cheaper bird. And listen, I'm not saying all cheap birds are trash. I'm not saying all expensive birds are good. I'm not saying that. I'm saying based on your scenario, based on your situation, you the one need to be out there looking to find out what you like, what you dislike, and whatever qualities you like, and what breeder birds possess those qualities. And that's pretty much how you pick. Then you look at the price. And then if you ain't got all the money, then maybe you need to come back a little later and buy it one time and be done and over with. But I see a lot of times guys will buy something and it will be at a cheaper price than what the next man's is selling. And then they'll produce a few good ones out of it, but 25 trash. And then they'll only focus or talk about the 3 good ones. Like that was a huge successful breeding. Out of 28 chicks, 3 of them was good, 25 of them was substandard. That wasn't a successful breeding. That wasn't a successful breeding. Now you can do the self-talk and convince yourself it was all worth it because you got 3 good ones. No, it wasn't worth it. You had to go out there and feed and raise 25 extra ones just to get 3 good ones. That's not worth it. So everything that looks the same is not the same. No bird produces the same. No family is all the same. You know what I mean? And even the breeders will tell you that. Once you take them to your house and you start breeding them, they're your deal. They're not mine. You have heard in these interviews, have guys say when they do some breedings, they send one to a whole nother part of the country and have that breeder breeding the same thing. And then when they need to come back and freshen up their lines, they go to that breeder and pick some of that stuff up because it'll freshen up their lines without them going outside the original family. Right? We know these things. We know these things. So what makes us go out here and get substandard birds for a cheaper price just because the title or the label is the same, or they're all roundheads? You know what I mean? That's not how it works. That's not how it works. And the experienced breeders know that's not how it works. That's why they don't do it. That's why they don't do it. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about. And hopefully y'all guys will understand that really makes a big difference. It makes a big difference. The second thing that I want to talk about is all wins and all losses are not equal. All wins and all losses are not equal, right? You cannot judge a win based on how much money somebody bet on it, because what somebody bet is a reflection of the individual's resources. It has nothing to do with the reflection of the bird at all. Has nothing to do with the bird at all. What somebody bet on a bird has nothing to do with the bird, meaning that the bird doesn't know that. It means that obviously you had the confidence in it to bet a higher amount, or you had the resources to accumulate or bet a higher amount, but the bird doesn't know if he's doing it for 50, 100, 10,000, whatever the case is. So don't judge all wins and losses the same. They're not equal. You have birds that have lost that made it to the brood pen, and you have birds that won and was called before they left the building. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. And again, if you've been doing this long enough, you know that's the truth. You have birds that won and was called before they got home, and you have birds that lost that got healed up and went into the brood pen, because all wins and losses are not equal. Okay. And the next thing I want to talk about is how individuals do not produce the same. If you have two brothers, two sisters, and I know a lot of times with flock breeding and stuff, they'll throw, all sisters in there with the rooster. I understand that totally. I understand what their whole belief and their whole concept and their whole theory behind it, and the results that they get from it and that type of thing. But we all know all brothers and all sisters do not produce the same. So just also keep that in mind when y'all guys are out here buying fowl. And I'm sharing this stuff because, again, with breeding season, people putting brood pens and everybody's been laying, everything's been like, I'm just saying it's something to think about, even for next breeding season. So you're not one of those guys who wait till breeding season come and then post in a group, my hen is not laying, what can I do about it? So this is just something to think about. If you're going to put a brood pen together, you want to make a phenomenal cross, you want to try something different as whatever, try to get the best that you possibly can. That's it. And I say, don't buy birds based on price. I don't care if the cheap price or expensive price. Don't buy birds solely on the price. I think it has produced more bad breedings than good breedings. That's it. So don't buy birds based on price. Buy birds based on the characteristics that they possess and the integrity of the breeder that you're buying them from. Those are the two biggest things that I believe an individual should be at 1 and 2. 1 is the characteristics that the birds possess. 2, what breeder out there that has the integrity to sell you exactly what you intend on buying that possess those qualities. And then 3 is price. Those are 3 things: 1, 2, and 3. Characteristics, integrity of the breeder, and price. Those are the 3 things that you need to take in consideration when you're going out here to purchase any birds. Okay. The last one I want to talk about before I get in any questions that y'all guys may have is, do not put too much emphasis in the facility that you're purchasing the birds from. This is what I mean by that. Y'all guys know I'm big on cleanliness. Y'all already know that. I said it 100,000 times already. Y'all already know how I feel about that. But what trumps that is the quality of the fowl. When I'm here and I'm looking for a fowl for my clients back in the States, I am looking for those 3 things that I just talked about. The characteristics that my client is looking for, the breeder with integrity that obviously shows, and the last thing is price. That's the 3 things that I look for. When I go to these farms, sometimes I go to places that I see out here performing actively great performances. And that's kind of how I pick who I'm going to see. right? Because I get to see the characteristics of the birds. That's what the first part. I may go to somebody's farm and it may not be the fanciest. It may be very humble. It may not be super clean, right? But what I also look at is the fact that I look at the performances. And if they're able to produce, the conditions to me doesn't seem like it affects it that much, right? So as long as the birds are producing, the breeder has integrity, I mean, the condition of the farm is number three. You know what I mean? I look at the quality of birds because great birds come from everywhere. They come from fancy farms, clean farms, raggedy farms, nasty farms. That's just a fact. And if you've been to enough farms, you'll know everybody's situation is different. But you can produce good birds out of every single situation. Every single farm type that I just named, you can produce good birds come out of those situations. That's a fact. If you kind of want to understand that, then do some research on epigenetics. And epigenetics is something that'll help you understand why good birds can come out of all four different situations. Just research epigenetics. So that's what I look for. Espinoza, what's up, brother? Appreciate you from Mexico. From Mexico. Shayfield, what's up, brother, from Cali? So those are the things that I look for. Number one is characteristics. Number two is the integrity of the breeder. Number three is the price. Number four is the condition of the farm or the facilities. Because I don't want to go to a facility and all the birds are sick. You know what I mean? I just don't really want, because it makes everything harder. Now, what do I do in a situation like that? What do I do in a situation like that? Well, obviously, you just can't pick a bird up and throw. Well, I wouldn't pick a bird up, throw him in a box, and ship him out the next day. No, I have to leave. Once a Barbados, I have to leave him under my care for at least 5 days. You know, sometimes it's 2 weeks, but 5 to 7 days. Why? Because I got to look at his droppings. He got to be washed, hit him with some antibiotics, got to clean him out, got to worm him, got to make sure he's good. I got to make sure his droppings look good. And I got to evaluate him over the next 5 to 7 days, right? And then within that 5 and 7 days, I send videos to my client. Sometime I will video chat them so they can see the bird. But yeah, so that's basically what I do, because all birds don't come out of the same type of situation. Especially if you go to people's houses and the birds have been free range, they're going to have some external parasites. They're going to have some internal parasites because they've been free range. So that's what I do. I bring them in and I run them through my program that I use. So I can ensure when a bird is shipped out and he goes somewhere else, he don't have any internal, external parasites. He may have some residue on his feathers of mites, but the mites has been treated. They're just dead. And make sure he don't have, like I say, internal parasites as well. Make sure he's healthy. Make sure you don't have any type of coryza or anything like that before he gets shipped out. And that's the same thing when you go and purchase. Yeah, that's the same thing when you go and purchase. That's why I say you really got to pay a lot of attention, because I think, again, in this era with this abundance or this overflux or overwhelming amount of information, this over amount of advertisement, it's really not educational. All of it's kind of like sales pitches, but you're really not learning anything. So I kind of wanted to make this video to maybe help you determine on who you, I ain't gonna say who you shouldn't or should be buying from, but maybe give you some information based on my experience to hopefully increase your chances of getting what you want and how you want it and who you want it from. I still get a lot of messages about referrals. I don't do referrals. Like I say, I don't sell other people birds for them. All I know is I do the part that I do. Talent scout. That's all it is. That's what I focus on. So again, those are just some things to take in consideration. Because I know a lot of people will soon, a lot of people is hatching and all that kind of stuff. So a year from now, y'all guys be making a lot of purchases. So 8 months from now, y'all guys will be making a lot of purchases. So just take those things into consideration. That's pretty much it. I don't really know what other way to say it, but just take those things into consideration, because I see a lot of guys buying birds based on price, which I think is a big mistake, because they're really not looking at the amount of time that they're going to have to put into that project. Just, and it was all a result of them saving $200-300. You know what I mean? That is just something. And then again, they waste so much time, and then they have a below average production rate, meaning that the quality of birds that you're looking for, you have more that's below average than above average. Nobody's talking about producing a whole bunch of aces. That's not even part of the conversation. I'm talking about you at least want to have above average birds. Guys are like, well, I'm shooting for more than that. Well, shoot for more than that. I'm not saying don't shoot for more than that. I'm not saying don't shoot for more than that. But you're not going to have no whole clutch of aces. That's not going to happen. You delusional if you think that's going to happen. And the second thing is you don't need aces to win. I mean, aces is good to have. We all want aces, but you don't need aces to win. The average bird that's competing is not no ace. He good. He might be above average, but he's not no ace. So you don't need that. What's up, Philippines? So again, guys, that's pretty much what I wanted to make this little short video about, to let y'all guys know. Those are some of the things, because it is a mistake that people make, is a mistake that people continue to make. The last thing I would like to say is for y'all guys out there, based on my experience, learn what you need to know before you need to know it. Let me say that one more time. Learn what you need to know before you know it, before you need to know it. Now, do that means you never going to run into something that you wish you would have known, but you don't know? No, it doesn't mean that. This is what I'm talking about. Before breeding season come, do your research on what will make a hen not lay eggs. Do your research on what it means when a hen lays small eggs. Do your research on a hen that goes broody too early. You know what I mean? It's things that you really should be educating yourself on prior to what you're going into. That's it. Individuals get into these situations and then they start searching for the information while they're in a situation. There's an old saying that says, sell it before you need to sell it. Because if you wait till you need to sell it, you're always going to sell it for a cheaper price. Think about that. Sell it before you need to sell it. Because if you sell it, if you start trying to sell it when you're desperate, you're going to take anything for it. It's the same thing. If you wait till you get into breeding season and hen not laying, you liable to listen to anybody. You had one post, my hen not laying. What is it? It was like 135 comments in that thing, and it was all different. What do you listen to? What does that individual, obviously don't have a whole bunch of experience, because he wouldn't be asking that question. But how does he determine on what advice to listen to out of those 135 comments? What's up, Callie? Man, you're exactly right, brother. I mean, and I try to tell guys all the time, you don't need aces to win. Just don't need no aces to win. You need a healthy bird that you truly understand, and you'll be a lot better off. But I just see a lot of guys out here just trying to, you can't buy your way to success. I talked about it in the last video. Success don't come out of a transaction. It takes work, takes understanding. Clark talked about that in his interview. Individuals come to him, they buy a trio, they breed. 2 years later, they want to know why they don't have the same results, because there's so much that goes on behind backstage. And that's what people don't understand. Everybody's just looking at the performance on stage. They're not thinking about the rehearsal and everything that had to be put together to make that performance the right way. We know this stuff goes on in real life, but when it comes to game fowl, we act like we forget all about what happens. A healthy bird is not healthy just because he's healthy. It's his environment, it's his feed, it is a combination of things. A healthy bird is not healthy just because of being healthy. You know what I mean? So it's a backstory to it. Right. Right. Let me Jabari, let me share Jabari's comment. Jabari said invest in quality over quantity, which again, I definitely agree 100%. Invest in quality over quantity. I used to be a person who believed in buying birds for cheap, but when I invested in proven blood, I seen fights for years, and the results have been amazing so far. 100%, I agree 100% on that. And that's what I talked about at the beginning of this video. That, and then again, you know, uh, I don't really see people talking about this. I don't see people doing lives about this. They do lives about everything else, but I really don't see people doing lives on educational stuff. And I don't know really why not. Maybe because they think it may hurt sales or something like that. I don't know. I don't really care. I just try to do what I can do. But that's just really something you got to think about as well. Same thing like that. Dish detergent is what Jabari is thinking about. It's just what Jabari just said. I went in and bought that cheap dish detergent. It looked like dish detergent. It was packaged like dish detergent. It smelled like dish detergent. But when I put it to the test, it didn't perform like dish detergent. It's the same thing with these birds. You go out here and buy a bird. He look good. They got all these fancy pictures, these videos, all this marketing, all that kind of stuff. And you get the bird and he don't possess the qualities that you need. Or he doesn't produce the qualities that you need. You know what I mean? All these birds are not the same. Now, if you want to get into buying massive amounts of birds, if you can afford to do it, oh well. But I feel as though even if you can't afford to buy a whole bunch of birds, that don't mean you need to have a whole bunch. You need to have the right birds, not a bunch of birds. Just because you got 30 pens at the house don't mean you need to have birds in 30 pens. Don't mean they all need to be filled up. I talked about this like 2 years ago. Go to people farm, they don't have not one empty tie cord, not one empty pen. Man, every last one of us can get rid of 30% of the birds on our farm, and it will not affect our breeding program. Right? Look what Donnie said, like that is a good one. Donnie said, like the fake cheese that's cheaper than the real cheese in the store. It looked like cheese, it smelled like cheese, but the bathroom is going to tell you it ain't real cheese. The bathroom's going to tell you that is not real cheese. So that's a good one. That is definitely a good one, and it makes a lot of sense. uh, okay, let's pull this one up. Espinel said, epigenetics is a very interesting topic. David Sinclair is a scientist doing a lot of research about it. You may like what he does. Yes, David is just one. The study of epigenetics has been going on for decades. Epigenetics has been going on for a long time. Epigenetics is very interesting. I learned about epigenetics from studies that they were doing in Africa. It's so much that you can learn about these type of things that is outside of game fowl. Don't restrict your understanding or your perspective of your knowledge of this sport. Don't restrict it to only talking to game fowl people. You can learn so much stuff outside of the game fowl industry that you can apply to game fowl, just like I did with that dish soap. People listen to the first 10 minutes of this video is probably going to tune out and go somewhere else, which is fine. Because again, the people that's truly trying to learn is going to stay all the way to the end. They're going to listen to it and discard the stuff that they really don't apply. But when you come in, you're only watching 10 to 15 minutes of it or the first 5 minutes of it, they know well. Guys try to tell me that, well, when you make these videos, you need to do a hook to hook the people. And I ain't doing all those gimmicks and comics and all that kind of trickery. They either going to listen to the video or they not going to listen to the video. I'm not doing no trickery to try to convince somebody to educate themselves. Whatever. But epigenetics is a great topic that individuals can learn from. And epigenetics will, again, because my studying of epigenetics and my understanding of epigenetics is what gave me the concept of interviewing individuals from all over the world. Because if you understand epigenetics, you'll understand that one person cannot teach you everything. That's what epigenetics will teach you. Because epigenetics shows how the environment is a direct reflection to your DNA. Your DNA is affected by the environment that you grow up in. It does. That's what that's the simplest way to simplify the concept of epigenetics. So when you have one or two people trying to tell you how to raise game fowl literally all over the world in places that they have never lived, it can't be possible. It can't be possible. You cannot. It can't be possible. That's the reason why when they do studies on pharmaceutical studies, food studies, all these different types of studies, they study people from all different walks of life. If it was just that simple, they would just study one race of people and one location. They can't do that. Nobody does that. But in the game fowl industry, you'll have one or two people that try to tell you that they can tell you how to. No, doesn't work like that. And don't take my word for it. Pull your head out this game fowl world and look in real life and tell me how that works. It doesn't. Yep, here it is right here. This is what I'm talking about. Jerry said a lot of times the ones that don't listen to the whole show will more than likely be the ones that ask questions about what you just talked about on social media. Exactly right. That's exactly right. I had a guy that was giving me a hard time in a jokingly way about how I repeat myself. He was talking about this on YouTube. He's like, dude, I love the show to death. I love what you're doing, but you repeat yourself. You know, my response to him was, the reason why I repeat myself so much, because it decreased the amount of messages that I would get. Many cases I had learned from experience that when I would run through these interviews, you would have guys asking me stuff. And I'm like, do I need to say this 3 or 4 times to like drill it in? Maybe they overlooked it or they didn't catch it. And then when I started repeating myself even more through these interviews, it seemed like my messages started to go down, which is great. So that's exactly right. That's exactly right. So what Jerry is saying is 100% right. You have guys who refuse to watch a 2-hour interview with Rick Hurst, but will spend 4 hours looking for the information in social media groups. That I even stopped trying to understand. So there's individuals who are out there to learn and apply. Then there's individuals out there just to learn and ain't applying it to nothing. They just want to have all the right answers. So hopefully I gave y'all guys some more right answers in the beginning of this video, and hopefully you will apply them, because I just see a lot of people making a lot of purchases and nobody's kind of educating them on how to even come up with their own set of standards, so their own system of what they look for. I gave y'all guys my 4. And hey, you know, you can listen to them or not. Hold on. I'm just reading a comment. Right. Let's put up Jabari's again. It's a long one, but it's a good one, Jabari. Jabari says, I brought a hit for $1,200 where the sons didn't perform to my liking, but that didn't mean they're not good to me. It meant that the breeding didn't click. Sometimes people think just because you have a good rooster and a hen, their breeding will click. I have hens I brought for $300 where the sons perform amazingly, bred to any rooster, even turn into amazing breeders. Where sons and grandkids, even the great grandkids, are performed well. Breeding is always taking a risk. Nothing is ever guaranteed in this sport. Jabari, you're exactly right. And let me just reiterate on some of those things that Jabari talked about, because I wanted to pull that up because it's a very, 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 very valid points. Just because, again, like I said before, you can't judge a bird based on a price. Don't go out here buying birds based on price. Don't buy a $1,200 bird because she's $1,200 or more. Don't buy a $300 bird just because it's $300. Buy the birds based on the quality, whatever the price is. That's something totally different. So what Jabari is saying is, yeah, he went out here and bought a well-bred hen. He paid $1,200 for her. He bred her. and didn't get the type of offspring that he wanted. He didn't get the results that he wanted. He's saying that that does not mean that the hen or the rooster, whatever he paid a hen, whatever he paid for, it doesn't mean that the hen was trash. And it doesn't mean that the hen is trash. That doesn't mean that the hen is trash. And that's what he's saying. It doesn't mean that the hen is trash. It means that a lot of times it did not click with the rooster that he bred her to, right? I have a guy like Chino talked about where he purchased he was given a hen because the guy's previous owners couldn't get nothing out of her. He got something out of her, and had a bunch of sons that turn out well. And just to reiterate what Jabari is saying, look at how sometimes we have these yard breds or these yard monkeys, and they turn out to be good. Because you can't, there's no guarantee of what we only have minimum intervention in the genetics that these fowl receive. I don't care if you call yourself a master breeder. I don't care if you call yourself a master poultry geneticist. I don't care. I don't care if you understand all the scientific terminologies, you know all the scientific terms. I don't care. You still have minimum intervention into what those birds receive. And if you don't believe me, ask that master breeder, ask that master poultry geneticist, do they have any calls? And they all going to tell you, yeah. Well, how? How do you have calls when you know every scientific word? You're a master breeder. How do you have calls? Because you ain't breeding these birds in no test tube. You do not know exactly what traits those birds are going to receive. Now, obviously, you use line breeding and inbreeding, and so a lot of people just use best of the best and scatter breeding to try to concentrate the gene pool. But regardless of how much you concentrate your gene pool, you still will have calls. So don't obsess yourself with understanding genetics like you're trying to be a professor at a college, because you still will have calls, period. And most of the birds, at least the Americans, most of the birds on the mainlands, the families was produced by individuals who didn't know one scientific word to genetics, but they knew how to breed. And didn't understand one scientific genetic word. They didn't understand one scientific word, but they knew how to breed. Most of those birds on your yard, the family that was created, Kelso, sweaters, all the blah, 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 blah. Most of those guys didn't know the scientific terminology of those things. Most of the guys who know how to feed is not a poultry nutritionist. Just think about this. If you don't believe me, go out into the real world. Go out into the real world and tell me if I'm right or wrong. But back to what Jabari is saying, and I'm saying that because what Jabari is saying is 100% correct. It's completely correct. He got $300 hens, and no matter who he breed her to, he gets good producers. Now go ask a master breeder, how is that possible? Before you tell him it was done, he gonna tell you, no, that ain't gonna work. He'll tell you it's not gonna work. But you ask a guy like Jabari who literally done it, and he can show you the birds that she produced. He can show you the wins that she produced. And he's not a poultry scientist. He's not running around here calling himself a master breeder. He's just sharing his real life experience. And I'm saying it because it's very easy to take somebody who's ignorant on a topic, who don't have a lot of experience, and convince them of anything. Convince them of anything. You can tell them, hey, this is the best of the best. And they don't know no better. It's a lot of stuff that was told to me when I first got into the sport that I found out later on it was nonsense. But by me not knowing things, that's why I say stop using the word common sense, because with me just getting into game fowl, what are you talking about? How am I supposed to have any sense when it comes to a chicken? I'm just a city boy with some country ways. I wasn't raised up on how to feed a chicken. You see what I'm saying? So it goes back to this. This is a real life example. Jabari is a real life example of what I'm talking about. He talked about his $1,200 hen. He talked about his $300 hen. Now, Jabari is not encouraging you to go out there and just buy $300 hens. And Jabari is not encouraging you. I'm sorry, guys. It looked like my Wi-Fi kind of okay, I froze up for a second. Yeah, my Wi-Fi froze up. Yeah, I hate this. That's why I like to kind of do pre-recorded. This Wi-Fi is not as good as like when I'm in the States, but it's all good. I don't know why I dropped off at. Um, I don't know why I dropped off at, but what I was just saying was going back to Jabari's comment. Um, he's saying the $1,200 hen and $300 hen. He's saying the differences in what he's produced. But what he's not saying is he's not trying to convince you to go buy $300 hens. He's not trying to convince you to go buy $1,200 hens. I think it's a very great observation that he had. And again, like I said earlier, if you talk to these master breeders or master poultry geneticists, they're going to tell you what Jabari is saying is not possible. Now he's telling you even the kids and the grandkids are still producing. He's not a poultry scientist. He don't know. I'm not going to say what he don't know, but I don't know if he's one of those guys that know every scientific term to breeding, know all the chromosomes, know all that. There's nothing wrong with knowing that stuff, but don't get obsessed about it. Because when you get obsessed about it, I think you really lose focus. Be obsessed about doing things, not just learning things. If you're going to learn things, be obsessed about applying what you learn. Don't just be obsessed about learning. And that's it. That's why I wanted to bring that comment up, because that's a very, very great life example that you won't hear from a master breeder. I mean, that's just like I said, if you get out there in real life, you will see exactly what I'm talking about. This is a good one, Kelly. This is a good comment as well. Kelly said, try to find good traits in the birds. Ask about how often their birds get sick. How often do they give antibiotics for sickness? Health and good genetics go a long way, and it is also help to have your ground around your birds tested as well. Those are very valid points. So when you get guys that go out here and they purchase fowl and they just want to cross the fowl into their foul. Oh, it's going to give them cut. It's going to give them bottom. Yeah, come on. It's going to give them cut. It's going to give them bottom. But what else is going to give them? Is it going to give them a weaker immune system? You know what I mean? Like, what else is it giving them? You don't just get the traits that you're looking for, right? You don't get the traits that look. If I got a client now in Texas and he likes to buy birds in pairs because he always liked to be able to go back to the original blood. So yeah, he do cross it out, but he always like to go back to the original blood. I said, that's a great idea. And that's always what I recommend. You know, if you're going to get a stag, get a pullet as well. Guys like, well, you just trying to sell? No, I'm just saying, because you can take that stag and pullet, breed that, and then start playing with the stuff that you produce off of that. That's why I say that. I'm just reading some comments, guys. Yep. So let's put up Chase's comment. Espinal has math 1 + 1 = 2, but genetics is not as easy. Yeah, here it is. I want to put this one other one up too. And I'm putting this out, guys, because again, we can talk about genetics all day long. Genetics can be found on YouTube from some of the best Ivy League colleges out there. MIT, one of the best colleges out there, they have genetic lectures on YouTube for free. They literally do. You're probably more confused than you were, but this is what Espinel said. In math, 1 + 1 = 2, but in genetics, is not that easy. It is a a never-ending trial and error where even the most experienced breeders will sometimes fail. That's all the point that I'm trying to make. That is all the point. I don't care how many books you read. I don't care how many videotapes you look at. I don't care about how many YouTube videos you watch. I don't care how many questions you ask and get answered in these social media groups. At the end of the day, you're going to have to put two birds, at least two, inside of a brood pen. I don't care who your mentor is. I don't care how many trophies he won. I don't care if he ate nachos at the Bayou Club or he's a self-proclaimed master breeder. All I'm saying is at the end of the day, you're going to have to put two birds inside that brood pen, at least two. You may put more. Hearing the horses clacking up and down the street. But you're going to have to put at least two. And you don't know what those two is going to produce until you put them in there and let them hatch off and raise what they produce. That's it. There's no way around that. You can't watch a video so it can determine what you're going to produce. You don't know. You don't know. So that's what Espino. So let me bring up what Chase's comment was. Chase says, one instance I experienced myself on getting fowl from a well-known breeder. I got one trio and all the offspring were straight culls. I then bred those hens to a different cock of the same bloodline and all the offspring were aces. The cock was bred over different hens. Those were aces as well. Maybe someone can see this and see how many, maybe because one trio doesn't reproduce doesn't mean that the bloodline is bad or the breeder did you wrong. He's just re-echoing what Jabari just said earlier. And y'all guys might think, oh, okay. No, if you listen to Clark's interview, he said the same identical thing. Guys coming to him, buy something, and boom, think they're going to be in a winning circle. It doesn't work like that. You can get more cases of individuals doing breedings out here. I don't care how experienced they are. Everybody's going to produce something that they need to call. I don't care what level you on. That's just that. It's just that. Let's bring some more stuff up here. Morrison says James Sylvester has the best breeding program in my opinion. No vaccinations or medications. Only the strong survive. The great thing about Morrison, that's just his opinion. And I'm glad he put that in here. That's just his opinion. Everybody may not agree with his opinion. Everybody may not agree that Sylvester has the best breeding program. Well, I don't know about a breeding program and vaccination medication is two different things. A breeding program is what you determine on selection process, what goes in brood pens and that kind of, that's a breeding program. A health program, as far as vaccinations, medication, I think those are two different things, Mr. Morrison. Those are two different things. Wild animals, Morrison said, wild animals don't have vaccination and medications. The strong survive. Again, guys, that just all depends. That strategy is not going to work for everybody. But again, if you have not raised game fowl literally all over the world, you won't know that. So you can really, your knowledge is typically is a reflection of your exposure, who you learn from, what you read, and that kind of stuff. That doesn't work all over the world. Not vaccination doesn't work all over the world. Not giving medication doesn't work. You have to find what works for you. Great thing is, Mr. Morrison said that was just his opinion. And that's what you got to take all of this information, guys. It's their opinion. Okay, it's just their opinion. We had Baby Canellis on, and he's definitely a big opponent of using antibiotics, but he's definitely a pro opponent on vaccinations. He feels as though vaccinations will prevent you from having to use antibiotics. But to go back to Mr. Morrison, we cannot always correlate domesticated animals with wild animals. They got a whole different makeup of DNA. Like we talked about earlier, if you study epigenetics, you'll understand you can't correlate how animals live in the wild, or how we live them back in domesticated, because we got them in an artificial environment. We got them on tie cords. We got them in pens. That's not happening in the wild. That's not even happening in free ranging. So you're looking at two completely, totally different things. Yeah, you're looking at two completely, totally different things. But back to what Baby Canellis was saying, and we do have Baby Canellis that's going to come on in, I think, May or April, because they're so busy. But he's going to come on again. If you haven't watched his, if you have not watched his first interview, I'll put the interview down in the comment section. I'll put his interview down in the comment section. And actually, while we're on here, let me see if I can actually put his interview in the comment section, because it's a great interview. Yeah, it's a great interview. It's definitely a great interview. I'm gonna see if I can pull up that Baby Canellis interview. That's for the guys who don't like to use antibiotics and stuff like that. Well, Baby Canellis, here it is right here. Let me see if I can pull this thing up. Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can share this with y'all guys. This is for anybody who doesn't want to use antibiotics. Like I say, Baby Canellis is a guy that is very anti. I ain't gonna say anti. He's not a big proponent of pushing antibiotics, or all these kind of other types of medications and stuff like that. He definitely doesn't like it. That's why I think it'd be great to watch his interview. Definitely, without a doubt. I think you'll learn a lot from it. Not only learn a lot from it, but it'll give you, let me see here, more actions. I'm just want to tag y'all guys in this so y'all guys can see his interview. Like I say, great interview. Great interview. Can't share this thing. The heck going on here? Well, anyway, I'll share it later. Yeah, I'll share it later. But if you haven't watched it, watch that Baby Canellis interview. We'll have Baby Canellis coming back on, but it was an awesome interview. It was a great interview. He talked about a lot of different things. And it will help y'all guys if y'all do not like to use antibiotics and all that kind of stuff. He goes through the whole ordeal. He tell y'all guys what he's using, why he's using it, why he's not using it, and that kind of stuff. All right. Hey, Steve, and you said it keep crashing. Yeah, watch it over here. Yes, Donnie the Don. Yeah, definitely watch the Baby Canellis interview. This is a good comment. Joshua said, if you don't plan on putting a few years of waiting time to see, best not even try. That is it. It is probably one of the best comments of tonight. It ain't no best comment, but it's one of the best out of all of them, because they're all great comments. Listen what Joshua said. If you don't plan on putting in a few years of time to wait and see, best not to even try it. That is exactly right. Best not even try it. If you don't have the patience, don't waste your time. And in actuality, if you value your time, you'll make better decisions. You won't have a half your yard filled up with experiments. You know what I mean? You won't be buying birds because they're cheap. You won't be buying birds because of wing bands. You know what I mean? It's a lot. If you value, a lot of people don't value their time. If you value your time as much as I do, uh, you won't just be buying a lot. A lot of buying decisions will change. Yeah, here's Nick. Nick said if he didn't medicate in South Louisiana, he wouldn't have any foul left on his yard. He's exactly right. And he's pretty much echoing exactly what Rick Hurst said. Rick Hurst said the same thing on his interview. Yep. Rick Hurst said the same thing on his interview. He's like, if you live in Louisiana with that type of climate, you need to vaccinate. Here in Puerto Rico, very few people vaccinate. And look at the climate we have. Tropical climate, high humidity throughout the year. It never gets cold. It's all, you know what I mean? But if you study epigenetics, you'll understand why these birds are able to do that. You'll understand why they're able to do it. Yep. But Nick is right. Again, that's why the journey to the pit interviews are so powerful, because you get to watch people from all different walks of life, all different farm sizes, all different climates, and they can share with you on how they deal with raising birds in negative 35-degree cold, how they do when raising birds in the Philippines where it never get cold, how they deal in weather where you have to vaccinate because they got a lot of mosquitoes and all kinds of stuff, how they raise birds in areas that got 4 climates but got extremely cold and extremely hot, how they raise birds like in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where it's 115 degrees and it ain't really no grass nowhere. It's like tumbleweeds. And I say all of these things because you hear so many people saying, oh, if you can't raise a good bird on without grass. That's not true. That is not true. That might be their truth, but that's not everybody's truth. And that's the most dangerous thing about it with this information. There is no one size fit all. That's why you got to be very careful on applying. It don't mean it's bad information. It just means that that information ain't right for you. Yeah, that means that information is not right for you. So that's kind of why I say that nobody is the Messiah in this game foul industry. And you will have people out here wanting you to think there are. At the end of the day, listen, everybody's experiences and stuff like that is different. We living in different climates. We have different goals. We see different things. You know, it's just a whole variety of a whole mixing bag of everything. So that's why I say focus on concepts, not just techniques. You know what I mean? Because that technique may not work for you. That feed may not work for you, right? But coming into this sport, you can really get ahead if you're willing to sacrifice and take the time and stop doing what everybody else is doing and educate yourself. Learn how to raise healthy birds. Stop focusing on all these wing bands and bloodlines and focus on raising healthy birds in the climate and location that you live in, because all of it is not the same. All of it is not the same. So I say you're better off focusing on health before you even focus on bloodlines. That's what I say. I say focus on health before you even focus on bloodlines. Because if you can get the right bloodline, but you can't keep them things healthy, then you'll never get the maximum potential out the bloodline. What's up, Philippines? You know what I mean? So just think about that. There's no one size fit all. There's a lot of people out there with great knowledge, a lot of people out there with real life knowledge, but it does not mean it's going to automatically work for you. But if more individuals, which again, I don't see people pushing health. Everybody's pushing derby wins. Everybody's pushing families and bloodlines. Everybody's pushing fancy videos and apps and pictures. They're pushing everything. Let's talk about some health. Why is this the funny thing about it? When we look at the interviews, which ones are the most watched? The interviews that's talking about pointing and stuff like that are watched more than say like a Rick Hurst interview. What does that tell you? See, when I be saying these things, guys, I don't just be coming up with stuff. I'm literally looking at the data. I'm looking at the information. I'm looking at the analytics. While many is on social media looking at stuff, I'm looking at a lot of stuff that's going on in the back end that's telling me a real story. That's why I got a different perspective on things. But more guys are interested in pointing out a chicken than they are interested in how to raise a healthy chicken. And you can't tell me more guys, you can't tell me that everybody who want to know about pointing already know how to raise healthy chickens. That's a lie. That's a lie. So there's not more guys. You talking about the guy, and this is why I know that, because I get a lot of questions. I get a lot of questions, and I can tell by some of the questions and the answers to the question that I even reply back. They don't know, to me, in many cases, the basic fundamentals of raising healthy birds. But everybody want to know how to point. It's guys out here that's literally trying to point chickens that's not even healthy. They're not even at their full potential physically. And you got them buying a video or buying a DVD or buying a keep, and it's being used on a bird that's not even healthy. And then when they get bad results, they say the keep is trash. Yes. Okay. So basically, what Michael says is he says my experience in antibiotics is giving him it in moderation. You can ruin healthy immune system quick by overloading them with strong antibiotics, mainly just building an immune system. What he's talking about is what I talk about in what we talk about in the Baby's Canellis interview, and that's Baby Canellis' stance on it. And we know, not just from a chicken aspect, but also from a human aspect, you cannot constantly give humans antibiotics every time they get sick. They don't give babies antibiotics every time they get sick. They let them get sick and they give them something for the symptoms to tolerate it, but they don't give them anything to fix the sickness because they have to build an immune system, right? Yep, exactly. I got two great comments I'm gonna pull up on the screen. This one right here is from Nick. Nick said, agreed. We must do what works for us for your particular area. Majority of cockers in my area worry about meds and vaccinations, but their water bowls are dirty and empty. Pins covered in mud. I appreciate reading everyone's comment. Yes, now I'm gonna try to read as many comments as I can. I can't read everybody's, but what Nick is saying is makes a lot of sense. Like I say, guys are trying to point chickens that's not even healthy. That's not even healthy. You're trying to point a chicken that's not even healthy, and then when it don't perform right, you say the pointing was trash. I think the pointing concept, most people don't understand that anyway. But you say the pointing is trash, or you say the keep is trash, or you say the birds is trash, but nobody talks about the care. And I know this is because, just don't take my word for it. Scroll all over social media and see if you see a whole bunch of likes and comments on health issues. You won't. You had one, I seen one post that asked one question. It had 135 different answers. And we said in the comment section, if he wasn't confused before he posted this question, he gonna be more confused by the time he read all those comments. But you guys to do what works for you. And I always say one of the best ways, one of the quickest ways, not the best, it could be the best, one of the quickest ways to find out what you're dealing with is to talk to the locals. It's the same thing that I say when guys ask, who got the best round heads? Who got the best Kelsos? Who got it? It's just like asking a pageant, somebody in a pageant. Ask the audience, who's the best looking woman up here in this pageant? That's how the comment section looks when somebody asks that question. That's exactly how the comment section looks. There is not one answer that's the same. Think about that. Who got the best round heads? The comment section is like somebody standing on stage and asking the audience, who's the prettiest girl up here? You think you're going to all get the same answer? You never do. And if you don't believe me, go to those posts and ask that question. I mean, look at the comments in those questions. I mean, those posts. I always tell them, get in the trenches. Learn from your locals. Before you even do that, I already always ask why you even want a round head, or why you want a kelso, or why you want a sweater. Why do you even want that? And then if somebody perform well on it, go to them. If they can't sell it, then ask them where they get it from. And if they, that person not available, then ask them if they recommend anybody. If not, stay your behind in the trenches until you find it. But coming to social media is not the best place to ask the question. That's it. Yeah, I'm trying to pull up a healthy chick. A healthy chickens are easy to point and more chance of performing at their best. Facts. That's pretty much what it is. That's pretty much what it is. Steven says, Steven, you back on Facebook? I thought you was watching. Oh no, that's a different Steven. I'm sorry. Steven says, Chase Hatchett, I agree 100%. Everyone always says the hen are golden, not always at all. I personally think, well, one thing is the hen determines the sex. So if you can find a hen that's producing more stags than pullets, I think that's a good thing. If I had to value, because there's particular things that hens give their offspring that roosters can't. You could, if you want to know what those are, watch the Dr. Fabio part 1 and part 2 interviews, and he'll talk about that in those interviews as well. But if I had to value one over the other, I would take the hen as more priority over the rooster. That's just personally me. I have always valued the hen over the rooster. What Chase said. Chase, what you talk about on this? Won't be much longer, and all the wannabes will be selling out in the summer. What you mean by that, Chase? Hector, what you mean? Subscribe to the membership? You got to go to the YouTube channel. And when you go to the YouTube channel, right next to the subscribe button, it says join. You can click the join button and you can pick your 3 tiers that you win. Just to let y'all guys know, the live interviews will only be live on YouTube, and it will only be live on the $9.99 plan. You still will be able to watch the interviews afterwards, but the live interviews will only be live on the $9.99 plan. The following day, the interviews will be live on a $4.99 plan. And then no telling when they'll be available to the free plan, to the free people. I talked to the guy that we're going to be doing the interview next week. I talked to him today. We got a lot of interviews lined up, but y'all guys know I had to come over here. As y'all can see, internet is not as solid. We had to get some things in order, but we on track. So I'll be posting up who's going to be the next person that we interview soon. So Hector, like I say, if you want to watch the interview live, you got to go on over to the YouTube channel. Like I told y'all guys before, we're going to convert it into a subscription type of deal. So if you want to watch the interviews live, it's $9.99. It's the same thing that goes with the Spotify as well. Some people don't value the interviews, and that's fine because they won't pay for them. Some people who's not willing to pay less than $10 a month to watch the interview, they didn't never value them at all. And I understand that there's a ton of free content that's out there, and that's awesome. But we produce 6 years of free content. We're done with that. And we created these subscription plans that's affordable. $9.99 a month is less than a value meal at a fast food chain. If the interviews are not worth that to you, we totally understand and respect it. We're definitely not trying to convince nobody to pay to watch the interviews. It's a bunch of free content out there that y'all guys are always open to watch. But we did it for 6 years already. And I don't think as many English interviews platforms out there that is doing free interviews. And I'm pretty sure with now that we're going to be going to subscription only, that opens up a lot of opportunity for the individuals that feel as though we shouldn't be charging for the information. Well, that opens up an opportunity for them to come in and fill the void. So let's hold our breath and see how many come in and fill the void. So let's get into some more of these comments. Okay, here's a one. There's so many comments coming in, and guys, definitely bear with me because I'm reading these comments. I can't put all of them up on the screen, but let me read some. Okay. Okay, now let's look at Michael's. Michael said, also, Jim, the marriage vaccination everybody gives, if they step back and put in the time to research it, there are many flaws in it. Breeding non-vaccinated to vaccinated chickens, discolor eyes, and things of that nature. I would recommend to anybody before you vaccinate for anything, read the side effects. Don't stick needles into your babies before doing research. What Michael Dobbs is saying, I agree. I definitely think I'm a big research person. And what I mean by research outside of social media. Do your own research. There's a ton of research out there. There's a ton of free research out there. Nobody takes the time to, I can say nobody. A lot of people don't take the time to do it. They think everything they need to know need to come off these platforms. But you can do your own individual research. And I agree about vaccinating. You know what I mean? And again, I can't say don't vaccinate. I'm not saying do vaccinate. I'm not saying don't give antibiotics. I'm not saying do give antibiotics. I'm saying do what works for you and your particular unique situation. That's all I'm saying. If you watch the interview with Jin, he's actually the person who referred me to Baby Canellis because he said that he ran his program there in the Philippines with a lot of antibiotics, a lot of medication. But he brought Baby Canellis in, and over the years, Baby Canellis have converted his program to where he have to give very little antibiotics and medication. So that's the reason why I ended up bringing Baby Canellis on. So, and we're talking about real live people, real live competitors, not people that you don't even know if they even own chickens, answering stuff inside of a post. Yeah. So, yeah, everybody's asking about the magazine. Let me tell you about this magazine issue. It is like pulling teeth. This is what's the frustration. Let me share with y'all guys the frustration I had with the magazine, trying to put this magazine together that made me wish I didn't even think about even coming up with it. Let me tell you what drives me bonkers. And I'm just going to be honest, and some of the people may even be watching right now. They may even be watching this right now. Let me tell you my biggest frustration with the magazine. I asked guys to do articles, right, for the magazine, because you can't have a magazine without articles. I asked guys to do articles. 98% of them say no. 90% of them say they ain't got the time. 8% of them say 90% of them say they ain't got the time. 8% of them say I'm going to do it and then don't do it. And then 2% of them say I'll do it, but then it's 3 months later and it still don't get done. So that's what I'm dealing with that. But this is the problem that I have. The 90% that says they don't have time to do it, follow them on social media and look at some of the posts, how long the post. I'm like, that could have been an article within itself. That literally could have been an article within itself. Or they say, oh, I'll give you 1 article or 2 articles. But I see you post 10 articles on Facebook. You can only do 2 for the potential magazine, but you can post 10 comments that's longest articles on Facebook. I'm confused. So to be honest, guys, I just really got frustrated with it. I really got frustrated with it. How do you ask 50 people to do articles? You put it out publicly on social media, and all I got is 16 articles. 16? 16 articles. I can't create a magazine with 16 articles. Yeah, maybe one or two issues, but I don't want to get into a situation where all I have is one or two issues of content. That's why these magazines went out of business. Not because the platforms are free and all that. No, because the people decide who have the knowledge, they would rather put the information on social media and get likes and hearts than to put it together to put it in a magazine. I had one particular guy out in Texas. I asked him to write an article. He told me, yes, he was going to write the article. Instead of sending the article to me, you know what he did? He posted the article on social media. And it got about 35 likes. I'm not even going to use the article now. Why do you need to send it to me? You already put it on what's the name? You see what I'm saying? So that's the frustration, guys, with the thing about the magazine. Very, very frustrating. Very frustrating. Yeah. So we allow these magazines prior to us to go out of business because we'll rather post our articles in comment sections on Facebook than to send an article to the news people and let them send it out. And it's the sad part about it. Putting it in a magazine will have 1,000 times more effect than posting it on social media. Because if you don't catch that post, pretty much within an hour or two, you and I won't ever see it. You'll never see it. How effective is it? You know what I mean? Just think about that. This is a good one. This is a good one. Santian Valley Garbage Life. Okay, this is a good one right here, guys. He says so many books are written on chicken science, not game chicken science, but look at what's going on in the domestic chicken world. We can learn something. I talked about this in my last interview, and not last video, and I talked about it tonight. Go outside this game fowl industry, and you'll be amazed of what you can learn. It's so much to learn. Paul Woods with Wood Enterprises, right? I called him about a book. You know what book he gave me? He told me to buy that's updated. That's a good book. Chickens for Dummies. I went to went online and said, oh, what book is good? He's like, oh, you can buy that book, but this is a more updated one. Chicken for Dummies. Raising Chickens for Dummies. When I bought the book, first of all, the book is about this thick. It got all the stuff in there. It has so much stuff in there about health, different diseases, feed, all kinds of information in there. That have nothing to do with game fowl, but it's how to raise healthy chickens. Well, they still chickens. I don't care if they game fowl or not. They still chickens. But so many of us feel as though the only way we can learn about game fowl is we got to talk to somebody who ate nachos at the Bayou Club. It's so many people who breed silkies and Cornish hens and all that know more about genetics than we'll ever know. More about genetics than we'll ever know. They know more about setting a family, creating seed fowl, all of it. They know more about that than 98% of the guys in this sport. No. But I don't know if it's pride, but you can learn a lot from somebody who know a deep understanding of genetics, but yet they breed silkies. Oh, but since they breed silkies, you don't want to have a conversation with them. Since they ain't got 10 trophies and ain't eating nachos at the Bayou Club, you don't want to have a conversation with them. I know I have conversations with them. And if you listen to Josh Huffman, and I'm gonna keep going back to these interviews because a lot of y'all guys don't watch them. I don't know why. Well, I know why, because you spend more time on social media. But if you go back to Josh Huffman, he ain't no self-proclaimed Nacho Club, Bayou Club cocker. But listen to that interview and tell me that guy don't have a deep understanding of how to create a family of birds, how to maintain a family of birds, how to improve a family of birds. Everything. He talk about cones, colors, all these guys talking about it's a recessive gene or I breed it out. Listen to that interview. You'll learn that a lot of that stuff you believe is nonsense. It's nonsense, or you have a misunderstanding of that. Watch that interview. Just watch it. And the sad part about it is, it's not even at the top of the totem pole of interviews to watch. Why? Why? Because guys are really not out here really trying to learn. A lot of guys are just really trying to participate. Yes, Larry Ellis, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. Larry says on here, Josh is a book man, very smart, very smart, very smart. Watch his interview. Watch his interview, and it may give you some understanding of when you pop out with one that you haven't seen in 5 generations with a particular color or particular comb. Josh explains how that comes about. I don't understand. You ain't got to get into a group and ask and have 135 different comments and don't know which one to believe. You can literally watch the interview. He tell you exactly, and then tell you how you can research it on your own. That's it. Yes. Now this right here is a good one. This right here is a good one. Norman says cheap will turn out to be expensive in our sport. Being innovative, creative, and practical are essential to success. Bam. There it is. There it is. There it is. What Norman just said is what it is. Cheap will turn out to be expensive in our sport. Being innovative, creative, and practical are essential to success. Not only in game foul, but also in real life. Bam, there it is. Yep, there it is. Donnie said Jim is right about getting content from this community, because I've been trying to get for many outreach and efforts. I know, believe me, I know. Getting content from this community is like pulling teeth unless you talk about pointing, and as long as they can do it in the comment section of a Facebook post. They got all the content in the world. They got all the time in the world. Yes. Yes, Chase, you was one of 16 people who submitted articles. You were one of 16 people that submitted articles. They got time to do an interview, but they ain't got time to do an article. It's kind of confusing to me. They got time to post long paragraphs in social media, but they don't got time to do an article. I stopped chasing people down for them. I literally did. And I really feel bad that I got 16 people to write articles, and literally Glenn from County Line Game Farm, he wrote like 4. I had some guy in the Philippines, he wrote like 4. So that shows you only between those two, that's 8 articles out of the 16 between 2 people. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. I don't understand how we expect our sport to grow when the only way we want to share content is on a platform that we complain about. I'm just saying. All right, let's get into some of these more comments. Okay. Valley Garbage Life. Santian. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. And again, I greatly appreciate if y'all guys see that little sign behind his name. That means he's a member of our subscription-based mentoring program on our YouTube channel. So he's a big supporter, and I greatly appreciate him. But let's read his comment. He said, I met a guy on Friday. He has a degree in animal science, heavy on poultry. He literally ran the poultry research program at Oregon State University. Brother, get in touch with me, because I would definitely like to just talk to him. Yep, I definitely would like to talk to him. Valley Garbage Life, get with me, man. I would love to talk to him. Okay. Jose Arroyo, yeah, brother. Appreciate you helping out all big and small people in the culture. That's what it's all about. The small and medium farms is the backbones of the sport. They're the majority in the sport, and I have said it many, many times. But yeah, this information a lot of times, again, hopefully is being used. But I see a lot of guys, smaller farms. I ain't gonna say smaller farms, newer guys, not smaller farms. Newer guys got to waste of many years of their life and thousands of dollars before they really get into until they really see the value of this education. You know what I mean? Many of them do. Many of them have to lose thousands of dollars and waste a couple years, 3-4 years of their life before they really start to get serious and understand that they own a hamster wheel, and they really got to start focusing more on education. And then they start to value where they get the information from and stop listening to everybody, because I was one of them. Yep, I was one of them. Valley Garbage Life, get with me, brother. We can definitely work on some stuff for sure. Yes, Don, you exactly right. It should have about 30 likes, but it won't. But if I talk about some, pointing, it'll have 400 comments and 700 likes, and guys be arguing about it. That's what it is. I'm sorry to say, that's what it is. Yi Ling, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. It says, I had a great discussion about form and functionality and how it translates to performance. I did a video about that as well. And what I talked about in the analogies that I use was a lion and a cheetah. A lion and a cheetah. They're both cats, different breeds of cats. They have different forms, but different functions. We can literally look to nature to see the concept of form and function and how it relates to performance. A cheetah cannot take down a water buffalo because the way it's built, its form and function, its form, one, don't have enough weight, which equates to don't have enough power. And its function, its body is not built to take down water buffalo. But on the flip side, a lion cannot run 80 miles an hour, but a lion can take down at least a weak water buffalo, right? Because that totally relates to form and function. So if you want to know, the best analogy to form and function, just look at nature. Look how a lion is built. Look how a cheetah is built. Look at the difference in what they can perform and do. It's two totally different things. Some of them catch the same type of prey, but they catch it in different ways. You know what I mean? Lion overpowers them. A cheetah wears them down and then trips them. You know what I mean? So it's two different things. But yeah, form and function. You can also look at, and Clark talked about this in his interview, of how the Fowlers built their form and function, their form and also function in the Philippines, how their round heads or sweaters are built there versus how the round heads and sweaters are built in the States. And the funny thing about it is the ones in the Philippines came from the same families in the States, but their selection process was different because their functionality had to be different. And in order for their functionality to be different, their form had to be different. Yep, their form had to be different. So it's just something to think about. Yep. Yeah, it's a lot of great comments in here. Yeah, it's a lot of great comments in here. Let's see. Okay, this is a great comment. Espinel said, there's a tendency to blame everything but how we handle birds and take care of them when they lose. However, if there is a win, they minimize chicken's ability and intelligence to say that the keep and the pointing did it all. That right there is going to ruffle some feathers, because that's the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I tell guys all the time who's obsessed about this pointing strategy, think they got it down to a scientific point and all this and that. How do you determine if your bird was on point? Because he won? So you saying that, that's a good question. How do you determine if he was on point? How? I would like to know how you determine if he was on point. Because he won, but if he lost, that mean he wasn't on point. How do you determine? And especially like back in the legal days in the States, with handling playing such a big role, You know what I mean? Like I to the point sometimes don't even understand why pointing was needed when there's so much physical human intervention in the show. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I truly don't know. Yeah, but this is right. Espinel said it is exactly right. We minimize the chicken's ability and everything. We're like, oh, it was a key. You know, I had him on point. Or if it was this or if it was that. You know, one thing I do know is if guys focus more on building knowledge about how to raise healthy chicks, how to raise healthy fowl, and spent less time debating topics, debating, pointing, focusing on who got the best this and who got the best that. You don't need the best to win. That's the funny part about it. I know guys at the top of the food chain, and I have never seen them post who got the best of anything. I have never seen them post why my hen ain't laying no eggs. I haven't seen them post that stuff. Now, I'm not saying, obviously, because if you coming in new, you don't know. But I'm saying if you do plan on breeding, maybe you should do your research before breeding season. And if you don't know why a hen is not laying eggs, maybe because your hen is not healthy. So if you don't know those basic fundamentals, it's hard for me to believe that you possess the knowledge that you need to possess to put together a great brood pen. It's hard for me to believe that. And I'm definitely not in this boat of everybody got good fowl. That's a lie, a whole lie, and nothing but a lie. Everybody doesn't have good fowl. Why do I say that? Because everybody's breeding fowl, even the individuals who know nothing about breeding. So how can you possibly say everybody got good fowl? That is a lie, a whole lie, and nothing but a lie. Everybody, you can't apply everybody to anything in this sport. That's why I know it's a lie. That's just some regurgitated garbage that you heard so many people say, you start regurgitating. Everybody doesn't have good fowl. Now, it's a lot of great genetics out there. But good fowl is the complete package, not just the genetics. It's more than just the genetics. Everybody's not running around here with healthy fowl. That's a lie. Everybody's not running around here with healthy fowl. So to have good fowl, you need to have genetics and you have to have the whole package. You can't just have genetics and he's sickly. You know what I'm saying? So redefine this whole thing that everybody got good fowl. That's a lie. That's a lie, a whole lie, nothing but a lie. Yep. Yep. Here they say. Yi Ling says, this is another great one. Raising healthy chickens should be 101. Facts. That should be 101. That should be 101. Get that book, Raising Chickens for Dummies. Great book. I got it right on my desk. Great book. And Paul Woods from Wood Enterprise is the one who recommended it. He recommended the book. If you got chickens, you should at least have that book. Because this is the thing. Goes back to what Rick Hurst said. Some of the information is outdated. So when you using all these techniques that somebody taught you from the Bayou Club, some of that information is outdated. It's like Norma said earlier, innovate. You got to come up with the times. Rick Hurst said the same thing. You got to come up with the times. Why not? You know, I seen a post where guys are talking about worming birds for kerosene. What kind of worms do you have? Do you feel as though in 2024, the most effective way to worm a bird is with kerosene? I'm not saying that kerosene doesn't work. I'm not even telling you not to use kerosene. All I'm saying is what is making you use kerosene? There's nothing on the market. You telling me they haven't created anything on the market that can be just as effective as kerosene. I'm not saying don't use it. You do whatever you want because it's your chickens. It's your time and it's your money. But Yi Ling says there are too many guys that want to excel too quickly, but forget the basics and the fundamentals of taking care. I agree with that 100%. And the thing I will add to it, I don't think they forget the basics or the basic fundamentals. I think they don't have any desire to learn the basics or the fundamentals. I don't think they have a desire to learn it. Why do I say that? They won't even watch an interview. Rick Hurst is laying out all kinds of ingredients, and he's not doing an interview to sell anything. He laid out all this stuff, the sicknesses, the ingredients. It was like an update from his first interview. So he done did over 4 hours of interviewing, over 4 hours of free knowledge. Every product he sells, you can buy from somebody else. So he's not on there for sales. But you literally still got guys that are doing stuff. And listen, I understand this concept of, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. No problem. But by the time you realize that you've fallen behind because it is broke, meaning that just because it ain't broke, don't mean it's keeping up. So by the time you realize that you have fallen behind because you have stuck yourself in this mold, I'm not going to do anything different. I'm not going to learn anything different because this is working. You're going to already be behind. You're going to already be behind. Clifton, thank you very much, brother. That's Thaddeus right there. Appreciate your support by being a member of our subscription on our YouTube channel. Yep. So that is the thing that y'all guys got to think about. If you watch the Tonio interview, and the reason why I keep going back to these interviews, because so many of these topics, we done covered all these topics. There's literally over 1,000 years of experience in those interviews, and that is not an exaggeration. That is not an exaggeration. If you add up all the years that these guys have been in the sport, it's over 1,000 years of information. And you literally have guys who will bypass that information, and it would rather go to a Facebook post and get an answer from there. It's crazy. Yep, it's crazy. Yes, and I'll put this on there. And I know this guy, Kenny Toronto, don't think very highly of me and always making fun of Journey to the Pit in a podcast. That's fine. I'm not going to do the same thing. But Kenny Toronto does have a good book. One thing I would say is, I don't know, and I read the books. I got the books. I bought the books years ago. And I have listened to his podcast and stuff like that. You can learn from anybody. But I don't know if it's all in layman terms. It's very like literature type of written. It's not really in layman's terms. And I have read the book. I don't have it here with me. But I read the book, and I also bought a friend of mine's a copy of the book as well. I bought him a copy of the book. Great information in there, very scientific. But it's the books are basically, it's very academical. And that's great if you can understand it, but it's very academical. It's very detailed and very academical for sure. Yep, here it is right here. No, not that one. Let me get this one right here. Brian said the same thing. He said, by the time you realize it's broke, you're already 2 years behind. And that goes back to, like I was saying before I talk, if you go to the Tonio's interview from the Philippines, he said the foul improves every 4 years, like at a whole nother level. Every 4 years, the foul improved. So imagine if you had that same concept. Oh, if it don't broke, don't fix it. Are you kidding me? These guys are trying to improve every single season with experimentations, different selection processes, and all of that. Imagine you said, "Oh, I got these 2 trios or these 3 trios. I'm gonna keep just crossing this, and as long as I keep winning with them, I'm not gonna do anything different. I'm not gonna try anything different." That's a problem. That's literally a problem. You gonna have a problem. If you're competing at a certain level, you're gonna have a problem. If you're competing just down in the hole, you probably can constantly get away with that. But if you're competing at the top of the food chain, those guys got experiments in their yard every single year. Every year. Yeah, Joe Hunt said a lot of people don't really take care of their fowl until they come out of the moat and the season starts up. Exactly. We call them season cockers. That's exactly right. And let's think about that. The same guys that he's talking about is the same guys in these comment sections giving other people advice. I talked to a friend of mine in Texas, and we always laugh about how the guy, so-called partner, is only around doing dance hall. That's the only time he around. You go to the yard look like trash, birds look like trash, but he's the first one in the building. You know what I mean? And then he's on again. That's what I'm telling you because I know this for a fact. And then I'm seeing him posting advice in the comment sections under these posts. I'm like, that's the last dude in the world you need to be taking advice from. Fact of the matter. I'm telling you these guys because I know this from the real life experience. That's it. Let's put this one up. And guys, I'm just reading comments and trying to pick up some good ones. And it's a lot of great comments coming through. Chad said, Newton Wade and I used to carry stags and pullets along with cocks and hens to the diagnostic laboratory every fall. We was always told we had the healthiest gut tract and worm-free fowl that they had seen in a backyard flock. We use lye and oats and kerosene, so why change what works then and it's still working today? Chad, let me explain something. If you heard what I said, I'm not telling you what not to do. You do whatever you want to do with your chickens. If it's working, working. But are you applying that same if it ain't broke, don't fix it philosophy to everything that you're doing in your program? Or are you just picking and choosing what you're going to do with it? There's nothing wrong with it. If you want to feed kerosene, if you want to, Mark Smug still use lye. I'm not telling nobody what to use. Use whatever you want to use. I just don't want you to stop learning. That's all I'm saying. I don't want you to stop learning. Continue to learn. But yeah, now Chad is saying that he took to the laboratory and that's the best thing. Okay, would that same strategy work in the Philippines? Would that same strategy work up north? Would that same strategy work in the Caribbean? Who knows? There is no cookie cutter to anything. Can all fowl take that? I see some fowl that get wormed and they just go downhill. This is something I learned from a very successful guy that competes at a high level. He said that's part of his selection process. That's a part of his selection process. He worm them, and he see how they react to the wormer. If they start acting a little droopy or something, he pull them out. He take them out. So everybody got different strategies. I'm not up here talking about, I'm telling everybody how to do things and why to do things. Do it however. If you believe in it, if it don't broke, don't fix it, then just continue on doing it. Continue on doing it. That's it. That's the way I say. I just say I like to keep an open mind. Some people don't. Some people do. I like to keep an open mind because there's always going to be change. There's always going to be change. Everything's changed, just like in nature. Everything changes. So I like to kind of be, doesn't mean I change everything all the time, but I like to kind of keep up with what's going on. Right? And talking with some guys down in Mexico, talking with some feeders down there, he talks about how, he has to keep up with different things. He's trying different things. But this is the thing. They're always still winning. But he's still trying different things while he's winning. He ain't waiting till he start losing. So that's kind of the way I feel about it. But again, it's your time, it's your money, it's your chickens. Do whatever you want to do with them. Yep. This is another great one. Brian said it also depends on where they're testing out at. I mean, that's a big thing too. Like I said earlier, you only as good as your competition. And a lot of times you can get away with using the same mix because if the competition is not elevating, then you don't need to elevate. Yeah. This is another one. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying, Thaddeus. Yeah. Before a lot of these educational videos was made, and not just with me, but with a lot of these interviews, a lot of people were still just kind of doing what was working for them. But just to say, like you're saying, but a lot of individuals, since the videos have made some changes and have gotten more positive results from making changes. There's more people who have gained more from these interviews than have lost. There's more people have gained value from them than people that have not gained value. I can't even calculate the amount of messages that I have received over the last 6 years on a positive impact of this new information. So that's just really the way I look at it. Yep. But I'm definitely not here to tell anybody what to do and what not to do. You do what works for you. And everything that works for you doesn't work for everybody else. Just like Bobby Rogers said with his feed mix, had a lot of success, still has a lot of success with that feed mix. Why should he change it? He shouldn't change it. But he gave it to the boys down in Alabama, that same formula, and it worked out horrible. Horrible. So just because something worked for you, don't mean it's going to work for somebody else. Keep going back to the same thing. You have to do what works for you. It doesn't matter how successful the individual was that told it to you. Just because somebody been in something for 3 years don't mean they know nothing. And just because somebody been in it for 40 years don't mean they know everything. That's it. Just like Yi Ling say, you never stop being a student of the game. That's the way I look at it. Everybody doesn't look at it like that. Everybody doesn't look at it like that. Yep. I don't know if this Jeremy or Parker, but I think it's Parker. What's up, little Parker? What's up, brother? Yeah, I know. See, that's what I'm talking about. The new information. I mean, we have heard this many, many times. I have gotten many pictures with guys saying, first time ever, I won. First time ever, I won. Just want to let you know, result of the information. I'm doing well. I'm raising better chicks. I'm raising healthier stags. My brood pins look better. My production rate is better. My mortality rate is down. All of that is a result of these interviews. All of it is a result of these, not a result of me, it's a result of these interviews. Yep. So it's just something to think about. But you got to be a student of the game. Let's talk about Kelly has a good comment too. Because again, this goes back to that question of who got the best this, who got the best that. I think guys really just be wanting to start a conversation. I really don't think they even be looking for an answer. They just want to start a conversation to get a post that they put up that got 200, 300, 400 comments. That's all. But Kelly says that I have been through several different bloodlines and only a few have worked out for me. Not every bloodline is right for you. They wasn't bad foul, but just not right for me. And I am still looking for tested blood testing other bloodlines as well, trying to upgrade my level on different game foul. Like Yi Ling said, you just got to continue to be a student of the game. That's all you can do. And you got to get to the practicality of actually doing stuff and not just doing a lot of reading and research and all that. Got to literally get your hands, put your hands on some chickens, talk to some real life people, not just through the comment section, but literally talk to some real life people. Go and visit some farms. I do a farm visit almost every single day. Some days I do more than one. Was at a different farm today. I was at a different farm yesterday. I was at two farms the day before. So I do it all the time, but I'm constantly putting my hands on different birds. Constantly, I got my little translator guy with me because I'm not completely fluent in Spanish, but I get to see a lot. I get to see a lot of birds spar. I get to see a lot, and I learn a lot. You know, I post that picture up today with the bird with the string hanging out of the feather, and goes back. There's a lot of guys been in this sport that was in the comment section that been in this sport 30 years, never knew what that was. Never knew what that was. They never seen. Look at the comment section. There's guys that been in this sport 30, 40 years and did not know what that was. You see how you can learn something even when you've been in this sport 30, 40 years? You can learn a different technique from somebody that got a little old small farm up in the mountain somewhere that ain't even on Facebook. I learned that from a guy. I don't even think, well, he got a Facebook page, you know how to use it. But I learned that from a guy that got a little old small place. Nice looking foul, very competitive. He said they got 6 going tomorrow. So he'll be bringing 6 tomorrow. So, I mean, nice looking foul, very competitive. Don't have any famous bloodlines. Everything is homebred that he breeds there. If I put up his name, you would never heard who he is. But if you get inside that circle, you're going to know who he is then. Not an old guy. You know, he's not 60 years old. So, you know what I mean? But very competitive. But that I took that picture. I had never seen that. And y'all guys know how many farms I've been to. Y'all know how many farms I've been to. I ain't never seen it. I seen stuff like that with zip ties and stuff like that. But even with that, people never explained what that stuff was, why they had it like that. They never did. Because again, like I say, these platforms, especially Facebook, is not really built for educational purposes. It's built for entertainment. But when I put that up with that bird with the string hanging out his feather, hanging out his wing, it was because he was a feather picker. And that string keeps him focused on pecking that string and not pecking his feathers. Some guys chimed in that were young and said, hey, I use zip ties. They ain't been in the sport 40 years because they ain't even 40 years old. But look, you can learn something from them. You can learn something from them. Some guys on there just cull them. That's what some guys are saying. Oh, he got a vitamin deficiency. Just cull him. If he pick his feather, just cull him. Guys, when you hear comments like that, just bypass those comments because you'll never learn from somebody who just culls everything. I don't know what you can learn from them because they ain't got experience in that. They just cull everything. So, you know what I mean? Yes. Yeah, you guys to find what works for you. Yi Ling said, totally agree. Doing farm business is one of the best ways to learn more about game fowl. The wealth of knowledge others have is priceless. And as I said before, doing farm business will always be better than anything you get on social media because as you're doing a farm visit, you're going to see things and you're going to ask questions that you would have never, ever thought about or stuff you would have never seen if you were just communicating through social media. So I tell guys, if you can, instead of spending all your money on entries, you should spend some money on some plane tickets or rent a cars and do some farm visits, establish some relationships. And I think you'll get a bigger bang for your buck than trying to live your whole world through social media. Yeah. Yeah. Brian said, we are just a small farm in Kentucky. We had guys that go all over fighting and tell people that it's the toughest fight they had ever seen in the holler. Yeah, it happens like that for sure. 100%. Michael, Michael said that I have saw that some of the older breeders that were very successful with their bloodlines are now breeding Doms, blacks, ACLs, more nowadays. Yeah, that's for sure. I think a lot of that is a result of again, change is one, and I guess they're trying to breed what their customers want. And I'm thinking that their customers is wanting it because it's winning, maybe. I don't know. But it's like these trends. But a lot of breeders got to breed what people are going to buy because that's how they make their living. But you definitely don't have to definitely I'm not no trend guy. I'm not, I don't think everybody needs. I think, with trends, you should be the one trying to create the trends, not just follow the trends. Had to plug in this camera. You should be the one trying to create the trends and not just follow the trends. But yeah, you do have a lot of that going on. You have a lot of guys breeding stuff that they said they would never have on their yard, but now they're breeding it. So, I don't have no opinion about it. Obviously they doing what works for them. They making good money doing it. So who am I to say anything? I don't know, but you do see a lot of it. You do see a lot of it. And like I said, is you just got to do what works for you. Yes, definitely be the trendsetter. I tell you what, there's going to be some clients that I'm working with that is definitely going to be setting some trends, especially with this Spanish blood crossed with this with the American blood. Just looking at some stuff south of the border, looking at some video clips and stuff. They're doing a phenomenal job. They're doing a phenomenal job. Like I told you, if you can't set the trend, then create something to neutralize the trend. And that's exactly what these guys are creating. Exactly what these guys are creating. They creating things that's going to be neutralizing. Yep. They're doing a fairly good job, and they're young. That's another thing that I like. Yeah. But guys, I think that's pretty much it. We've been on here for 2 hours. I always enjoy hanging out with y'all guys, and hopefully y'all guys got some value out of this. I really appreciate the comments because the comments is always the greatest opportunity for us to each one teach one. But I think we talked about enough tonight. And yeah, I don't know when I'll be doing my next live stream. Like I said, I just came out. Picked up a stag for a client to be going out to Texas. But I picked him up tonight. So he'll be here for a week and then he'll be shipped out next week. But yeah. Yep. So I just wanted to come on here and just talk a little bit. Just talk a little bit. Guys, if y'all have not joined our YouTube channel, again, like I say, the $9.99 plan and up is going to be the only ones that will be watching interviews live. The $4.99 plan will be able to watch the interview later after it's live. And we don't know when it'll just be posted up to the platform for free viewing. We talked about this before, again and again and again. But yeah, if y'all guys appreciate the content, y'all guys want to show us some support, y'all can go over to our YouTube channel and join. We'll greatly appreciate it. You can join for $4.99. But watching live interviews for $9.99, I think is a huge value. It's cheaper than any Whopper meal, McDonald's meal, or anything like that. And again, and if it's not worth it, I respect that as well. I respect that as well. So, but that's pretty much it. Mexico, Espinel, appreciate you coming on. Hopefully I'll see you on the next live stream. And guys, I just do these live streams just at the whip of the moment. Right now, Michael, there is no time difference in Puerto Rico because y'all guys came up. They don't have daylight savings time here in Puerto Rico. So in the fall, when y'all fall back, it's an hour difference. But in the spring, when y'all come forward, it's the same time. So Puerto Rico don't have daylight savings time at all. And they don't have 4 seasons of weather either. It's just hot here all year long. Yeah. And the island is very small. I think it's 35 miles or 36 miles by 100 miles. But it still take a long time. It take 2 hours or something just to go 70 miles. Yeah. But guys, like I say, that's pretty much it. I will be making some videos that will pretty much just be YouTube only. they got a new feature where I'll be doing the videos straight from my phone when I'm out and about, just doing different things. So if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, I recommend you go over there and subscribe, hit the bell notification button. I'll be doing periodic videos as well. I talked to Mario Maldonado. We're gonna be bringing him on here. He's gonna be making some. We're gonna be. It's not gonna be a full interview. It's gonna be pretty much topic specific things that we're gonna be talking about in our mentoring program on a YouTube channel, or even a live channel as well. But yeah. So we talk about different things about feeding, his experience, difference when he moved from the States over to Mexico, all different types of deep details on bringing birds and pointing and how he select them and all that kind of down in Mexico. He had a lot of success down there. So we're going to be doing some videos, but it's only going to be in our mentor subscription plan on our YouTube channel. But and then I also will be doing videos from my phone, because now YouTube have a feature now that you can do live videos from your phone. And I'll be doing some of that as well. So look forward to y'all guys hanging out with me. I hope y'all guys enjoyed the video. Please share if you feel like it. If not, I understand. And like I say, come on over to our YouTube channel, subscribe. You don't have to join, but subscribe at least. Hit the bell notification so when I do videos, you won't miss them. So I'll talk to y'all guys then, and y'all all have a great night.